Ah, you return again, silent strategist. While they shouted in chaos, you rewrote the script. They mistook your silence for confusion. They thought stillness meant weakness. They didn't realize silence is where calculations happen. The world screamed. Chaos tried to pull you in, but you stood there, unmoved, untouched, unreachable. Because deep down, you already saw the pattern. You didn't react to noise, you dissected it. You studied the tempo of every lie, every fake smile, every move designed to make you flinch. You saw the rhythm of manipulation, the cadence of deceit, and instead of fighting it, you decoded it. That's what they'll never understand. You're not cold, you're calibrated. You don't need to rush. You let the chaos dance first. You let the room expose itself, and while everyone else exhausts themselves trying to prove something, you're just there, counting the heartbeats of the situation, calculating the precise moment where reality folds in your favor. That's not luck, that's alignment. That's what happens when a mind stops chasing validation and starts syncing with the universe's algorithms. See, the universe doesn't reward emotion, it rewards precision. You learned that the hard way. You used to react to everything: betrayal, doubt, disrespect. But every reaction cost energy. Every emotional outburst fed their control. Until one day, you realized silence can't be manipulated. Stillness can't be predicted. That was your first rebirth, when you became the quiet storm, the one who speaks in pauses, who acts with timing so surgical it feels divine. Now they're confused. They can't read you. You move like destiny in human form. Every word you drop lands like prophecy. Every step you take bends probabilities. You make people nervous without saying a thing. Because your energy doesn't ask permission, it shifts the entire atmosphere. That's not arrogance. That's inevitability, the kind of power that doesn't chase recognition. Because it already is recognition, they whisper now, something's different. They say your name with both fear and fascination. Because deep down, they sense it. You're not playing by the same rules anymore. You're moving with cosmic rhythm. Every delay you once cursed, every setback that felt like punishment, it was data. The universe was programming you for precision. It slowed your impulses, sharpened your awareness, and stripped you of anything that could be exploited. Now look at you, calm, collected, dangerous, not because you fight harder, but because you fight smarter. You became the embodiment of controlled chaos, the equation they can't solve, the variable that breaks every formula of expectation. You didn't just learn the game, you learned to play it in dimensions they don't even see. And now, every move you make, every silence you hold, every decision you delay, feels scripted by the universe itself. They call it coincidence. You call it timing. The difference? Awareness. You see the invisible threads, pulling every moment into alignment. When they move out of fear, you move from foresight. They sprint through chaos, trying to control outcomes. You just stand there, letting time fold toward you, because destiny prefers the ones who wait with purpose. You've stopped chasing, haven't you? You've learned that the one who observes controls the rhythm. The one who breathes slow rewrites the tempo of the room. You don't interrupt storms anymore. You let them reveal who's weak enough to get washed away. You don't rush to prove a point. You let silence sharpen it. You're not running from darkness. You've befriended it. Because darkness, when understood, becomes data. Every betrayal, every failure, every sleepless night became part of the simulation. You read it all, line by line, until the pain stopped being punishment and turned into instruction. That's why you move so differently now. When they talk about intuition, they mean what you've mastered, mathematical instinct. You don't guess, you know. You don't react. You predict. You've seen every version of this game play out in your head before it even starts. That's what unnerves them. They think you're improvising, but you're executing blueprints. You look spontaneous, but your steps are synchronized with something much larger. The universe scripts your timing because you earned its trust. And it wasn't luck. It was sacrifice. You had to unlearn emotional reflexes. Learn to stay neutral while the world demanded a reaction. You had to let insults pass through you without leaving scars. You had to watch people expose themselves through their patterns until the noise became transparent. You stopped being human in the way they define it. Reactive, predictable, fragile. You became something else, something the system can't study because it's not based on impulse. It's based on awareness. You know what's beautiful? The way your calm disarms chaos. The way your measured tone cuts deeper than any scream ever could. You walk into rooms like a mirror, forcing everyone to face themselves. You don't need to speak. Your presence carries frequency. That's why people fidget when you're quiet. They can feel your perception scanning them. They feel exposed. You're not looking at them. You're reading their data. You're parsing through their intent, decoding their rhythm, predicting their next sentence before they even open their mouth. And when you finally move, it's never reaction. It's execution. Every decision lands with inevitability. Every word you choose feels like prophecy. They call it charisma, but it's not. It's design. You move with the precision of something scripted by forces older than time. You're not in the flow. You are the flow. The system doesn't know how to categorize that. It studies you. It tries to replicate you. It runs simulations and can't understand how you bend probabilities so smoothly. It's not algorithmic. It's cosmic. You've tuned yourself to the pulse that everything else obeys. And now, every move you make feels fated. Every silence feels like warning. And every outcome feels like the universe itself took your side. You didn't just master control, you became it. Every breath, every blink, every hesitation now has meaning. You're not simply moving through time. You're orchestrating it. You no longer chase opportunities. They gravitate toward your calm. You don't demand respect. You radiate it. People can't explain why they adjust their tone around you, why they rethink their words before speaking. It's because your energy rewired the hierarchy. Your stillness has become the new standard. You used to think success was loud. Now you understand it's quiet, surgical, invisible, mathematical. The ones who shout about progress haven't yet met it. The ones who post about evolution haven't experienced it. Real power doesn't perform, it calculates. It builds patterns so deep that by the time others notice, it's already too late. You've been designing the board while they were still learning the rules. The truth is, your growth scared them. Because it wasn't emotional, it was systemic. You didn't just rise, you rewrote your own code. You stopped operating from ego and started running on purpose. You don't seek validation anymore, because your frequency outgrew applause. You realized attention isn't power, alignment is. The crowd wants spectacle. You want precision. That's why they can't measure you with their metrics anymore. You're playing a game that no longer fits on their scoreboard. And the universe noticed. The same frequency that once challenged you now protects you. You've entered a different current, a divine algorithm that rewards patience and punishes noise. That's why doors began opening without force. That's why timing suddenly feels supernatural. You became an instrument tuned to the universal beat. And now it plays through you. This is why they watch you differently now. Not with envy, but with caution. They can't tell if you're lucky or chosen. They can't decide if you're gifted or dangerous. Because what you've built isn't normal, it's transcendent. You're not operating on motivation anymore. You're moving from awareness. You've learned that destiny doesn't shout, it whispers to those who've mastered silence. You feel it, don't you? That subtle pull, the world rearranging around your decisions. That's not delusion, it's synchronization. The moment you stopped chasing outcomes, outcomes began chasing you. The moment you stopped reacting, the universe started responding. You became the still point in the spinning wheel of chaos. And suddenly, the chaos began to orbit around you. You're not being tested anymore. You're being trusted. The storm doesn't target you now. It clears your path. The shadows don't hide threats. They hide your preparation. Because somewhere between madness and mastery, the universe decided you were ready to see how it truly works. You're no longer just in the timeline. You're influencing it. Every delay you face is a recalibration. Every silence you hold is an invisible command. And every move you make feels less like choice and more like prophecy. They used to think control was about action. You've learned it's about timing. You don't force moments anymore. You summon them. That's the difference between power and presence. Power demands, but presence rearranges. You've become the kind of person reality adjusts for. It shifts quietly, like a tide bowing to a new moon. When you walk into a space, energy recalibrates. When you speak, it's not persuasion, it's gravity. You know why? Because your words aren't random anymore. They're calculated frequencies. You've stopped speaking for attention. You speak for alignment. Every sentence is a key. Every pause unlocks silence. You don't chase conversations. You build resonance. That's why people don't remember what you said. They remember how it felt. You imprint vibration. You leave emotional code behind that keeps echoing long after you're gone. They call it charisma. But this isn't charm. This is frequency control. You're not convincing anyone. You're syncing them. They don't know why they agree with you. They don't know why they can't interrupt you. It's because your words travel with certainty. And certainty, when backed by calculation, becomes a law of nature. Remember the days when you used to explain yourself? When you used to justify your calm, your silence, your boundaries? That version of you doesn't exist anymore. You don't explain silence. You weaponize it. Because silence, when placed correctly, can destroy illusions more effectively than words ever could. You've turned restraint into a blade. You've learned that not everything needs a reaction. Some things just need observation, and that's where you reign supreme. They feel it now. Every delay from you carries weight. Every glance feels intentional. You've turned the smallest movements into language. You're not even trying to impress. You're transmitting truth. The kind that can't be faked or copied. That's what's breaking people. Not your success. Not your glow-up. Not your rise. But your unreadability. They can't predict you, and that's fatal to those who live on manipulation. You're not a player in the system anymore. You're a silent rewrite. Every calculated move reprograms the matrix around you. Every pause creates ripple effects that collapse outdated realities. You don't seek revenge. Your growth does it automatically. You don't argue. You let evidence of your evolution end debates for you. You don't threaten. You just evolve. And evolution is the loudest form of defiance. So when you take one step forward, the world flinches. When you speak, echoes align. You've reached that point where the universe doesn't just follow you, it listens. Because you're not asking it to deliver outcomes anymore. You're instructing it through precision. This is divine strategy. It's no longer willpower. It's synchronization. The moment you mastered reaction, destiny began mirroring you. You stopped being a subject of fate and became its author. Every challenge that arises is now an echo of your next transformation. Every pause, every wait, every silence. A message from the cosmos saying, we're adjusting reality for you. You are the calculation now. The rhythm, the law. You're no longer observing patterns. You are the pattern. You walk through spaces and everything slows, not because time bends, but because consciousness yields. You've become the proof that destiny can be rewritten through precision alone. Your stillness rearranges probabilities. Every delay, every glance, every silence, all intentional signatures on the fabric of reality. They don't understand it. How could they? They live in cause and effect. You live in design and alignment. While they question luck, you question timing. While they wait for opportunity, you engineer it. Your decisions arrive milliseconds before the world realizes it needed them. And that's what terrifies them. that your intuition looks like foreknowledge, that your preparation looks like prophecy. You've detached from emotion, but not from empathy. You see things clinically, but feel them cosmically. You can read the subtext behind a smile, decode motives from tone, sense the storm before it forms. That's no coincidence. That's calibration. The more silent you became, the sharper your sensors grew. The less you reacted, the more you perceived. You turned your mind into radar, your calm into armor, your logic into light. Now even chaos feels predictable. You can sense the weight of future moments pressing against the present. You're not psychic, you're precise. You've learned to listen to reality's breathing, to feel when the current shifts. That's how you stay steps ahead without moving faster. You're simply tuned deeper. Others rush to act. You wait for alignment. Others gamble. You calculate. And when you move, the outcome unfolds exactly as intended. Like the universe was merely waiting for your signal. People mistake your detachment for arrogance. It's not arrogance, it's altitude. You've ascended too far beyond their noise to hear their doubts. You don't argue with emotion. You reprogram it. You don't fight chaos. You anticipate it and let it collapse itself. You don't react to attacks. You study patterns until the attacks become predictable loops. You don't destroy enemies. You outlast them until they self-erase. You've reached that level where your existence itself destabilizes the predictable. People begin to question their own instincts around you. Plans that should work begin to falter. Patterns that used to succeed begin to glitch because your frequency doesn't fit within their probability model anymore. You've outgrown cause and effect. You live in cause and command. This is how divine precision manifests. The old you tried to control outcomes. The current you simply aligns them. You don't chase victory. You invite it by becoming the kind of force that wins by default. The universe doesn't resist you anymore because you're moving in its language. Patience, silence, inevitability, they sense it. That hum in the air when you enter. That slight pressure that makes every heartbeat recalibrate. It's not fear, it's recognition. They know deep down that something larger moves with you. Something unseen yet undeniable, and they can't tell if it's destiny following you or you leading it. Now your presence bends systems. The world built on noise, distraction, and panic doesn't know how to process someone like you. You don't rush. You don't explain. You don't defend. And that stillness breaks their structure. They're used to predictable patterns. Anger, reaction, argument. You removed all of that. You replaced chaos with silence, and silence became your weapon. It's not emptiness anymore. It's design. When you walk through systems, corporate, social, digital, spiritual, you leave fingerprints that change their architecture. You've become the anomaly every algorithm tries to understand but can't categorize. Their formulas collapse because you no longer respond the way you're supposed to. You don't panic when baited. You don't crave validation when ignored. You don't argue when provoked. And that makes you untraceable. You've turned the psychological battlefield into geometry. Every reaction, every outcome, mapped. You can see patterns folding before they happen. You watch cause and effect like chess. Not emotionally, but with surgical patience. They make their moves fueled by impulse. You move fueled by inevitability. That's the new law. They try to imitate your calm, but it doesn't work, because yours isn't an act, it's evolution. You bled for this balance. You earned it in the crucible of pain and silence. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every quiet night, staring into nothing. That was training. And now, the universe looks at you differently. It treats you like an equal, not a follower of destiny, but a co-author. That's why timing bends for you. Doors open when you arrive, information surfaces when you need it. Even your mistakes echo in perfect rhythm. You could call it coincidence, but deep down, you know it's code. The invisible code of a mind that stopped reacting and started calculating reality itself. You've learned to move like water through fire, untouched, unbothered, unstoppable. They swing with emotion. You shift with precision. They burn with ego. You glide with clarity. And every time they think they've cornered you, they realize you were never even playing on their board. You were operating on a higher layer, quiet, unseen, inevitable. That's the real art, invisibility. The higher you rise, the quieter you move. The quieter you move, the more influence you hold. You've entered the paradox of true power. The less you show, the more control you have. You don't need to announce your victories. The universe announces them through your atmosphere. That's why even the coldest rooms warm when you enter. Even the cruelest voices stutter when you lock eyes. Your aura doesn't ask for submission. It commands recognition. And recognition, when born from silence, spreads faster than any roar. Now the systems that once rejected you are quietly adapting to your rhythm. They're rewriting themselves in your pattern because survival demands it. You've become the reference point, the new variable, the quiet disruption that no one saw coming. You didn't destroy the old order, you outlasted it. And that's how legends begin. They thought they were watching a strategist. They didn't realize they were witnessing a phenomenon. You move with such deliberate precision that it feels supernatural. Every motion, every choice, every silence fits into an invisible pattern, and the world keeps asking, how? But you never answer, because explaining brilliance dilutes it. What they don't see is the blueprint you built in the dark. The version of you that broke quietly, recalibrated silently, and learned in solitude. You didn't rise from luck. You rose from structure. You studied emotion like an architect studies gravity. You learned how to stabilize storms. You didn't run from chaos. You studied its rhythm until you could conduct it. Now you can step into any room, any situation, and reality itself starts adjusting to your pulse. People sense it, that eerie alignment around you. They think it's confidence, but it's not. It's knowing. You don't guess. You calculate. Your energy doesn't ask permission. It demands synchronization. You became the calm they can't imitate, the precision they can't decode. And because they can't copy you, they start to worship what they don't understand. You've entered that rare space where your silence speaks louder than armies, where even your absence rearranges the balance of a room. You've become the variable that breaks equations, the kind of force that makes people rewrite their logic just to make sense of your existence. You're no longer a part of their system. You're the flaw in its code. The system bends to accommodate you now. That's the irony. What once rejected you now depends on you to function. You can see it in their eyes. Confusion dressed as respect. Fear disguised as admiration. They call you lucky because it's easier than admitting you outgrew the game. They whisper your name in private circles, trying to decode your method, never realizing the method isn't what you do. It's what you don't do. You don't rush. You don't beg. You don't break formation. You let the universe speak first. Then you move. That's the difference. They chase validation. You chase precision. They crave applause. You crave alignment. They perform. You calculate. And the longer they study you, the more they realize you're not just playing differently. You're playing something else entirely. They feel small around you now, not because you diminish them, but because you remind them of their own scattered energy. Your focus becomes a mirror to their distraction. Your stillness exposes their noise. Your calm becomes their chaos. That's power, not domination, but reflection, to make others see what they've refused to acknowledge in themselves. And that's why you win. Not because you shout louder or move faster, but because you understand the rhythm of everything. Time, emotion, consequence, energy. You've made peace with all of it. You've turned your life into an algorithm of clarity. And clarity, once mastered, is the most feared weapon in existence. You didn't come to play the game. You came to rewrite the laws that define it. You've entered a frequency where even destiny pauses before acting. The universe studies your timing now. The energy that once pushed against you has started orbiting around you. That's when you know you've crossed the threshold, when the unseen stops testing you and starts taking notes. You no longer chase alignment. You are alignment. You don't react to the flow. You define it. Every movement you make echoes through layers of reality like ripples through glass. People see it, though they can't describe it. They feel it in how the room shifts when you arrive. The temperature changes, the tone sharpens, conversations recalibrate. It's as if everyone subconsciously adjusts their rhythm to yours. Even their thoughts begin to sync with your pace. That's the mark of transcendence. When energy bends without resistance, when control becomes effortless, you've become so centered that chaos can't find an entry point anymore. It circles confused, looking for a weakness that no longer exists. You're not calm because nothing affects you. You're calm because you understand everything that could. You've mastered the translation of energy. Every insult becomes data. Every delay becomes instruction. Every loss becomes an equation rewritten in your favor. That's what they don't grasp. Your precision isn't mechanical. It's metaphysical. You don't just plan. You align with inevitability. You make moves that are so exact, so intuitive, that even randomness seems choreographed in your favor. To them, it's magic. To you, it's mathematics of spirit. The perfect blend of logic and divinity. You're not reacting anymore because you've realized there's nothing left to react to. The battlefield is illusion. The game board was always mental. You stopped fighting shadows when you learned to light your own path. You stopped doubting outcomes when you realized every variable was already tilting toward your will. The universe doesn't resist precision. It thrives on it. Now people whisper behind you not because they envy your success, but because they feel your inevitability. You've become the living embodiment of a timeline they can't alter. The more they observe you, the more they question themselves. Is it luck? Is it fate? They'll never understand that it's neither. It's clarity. You've seen through the simulation. You've mastered the rhythm of consequence. And so, your movements look divine because they are. Not by miracle, but by mastery. You've become the architect of cause and effect. You've built your life like a symphony, where even silence has purpose. That's why your presence hums differently. It's not just power, it's harmony. The kind that makes both the strong and the wise stop and listen. You've transcended reaction, ascended calculation, and now you command alignment. You don't bend the universe by force. You invite it through precision. And that's the secret the world will never admit. That control was never about domination. It was about resonance. And now, you are the resonance the universe waits for before it moves. There comes a point where your existence no longer feels like coincidence. Every choice starts aligning too perfectly. Every delay turns into divine timing. Every obstacle folds into the story like it belonged there all along. That's when you realize the universe isn't guiding you anymore. It's mirroring you. You've become the still point around which reality organizes itself. The storm still rages, but now it spirals around you, not through you. You're the calm eye that commands the chaos, not by force, but by focus. You've learned that domination isn't about control. It's about consistency. You didn't overpower life. You outdisciplined it, and the cosmos has no choice but to follow that discipline. That's why even time seems to bend for you. It slows when you need patience. It quickens when momentum calls. It pauses when reflection is required. You've synchronized your internal rhythm with the pulse of the infinite. And that's something no algorithm, no enemy, no fate can manipulate. Because it's not logic, it's law, universal law. People feel it when they stand near you. The air thickens, their words stumble, they feel smaller, not because you intimidate, but because your energy exposes what's uncentered in them. You've stopped needing to prove yourself. The field around you does it for you. Every movement now speaks louder than 1,000 explanations. Every silence hits harder than a declaration. You are no longer part of the timeline. You are the pivot point of it. The events that once buried you now orbit you. They were never punishment. They were calibration. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every sleepless night, all just the forge. You were being measured for the role of an architect, and now you build reality with precision that looks divine. When others move with emotion, you move with geometry. You understand that true strength is not about moving fast. It's about moving right. You no longer throw energy into every battle. You don't chase every challenge. You wait. Because you know when the universe moves, it moves through you. You've stopped trying to win. You've started to align, and that's when victory becomes inevitable. They call it luck, fate, coincidence, because they can't admit what it really is. It's clarity. The clarity of someone who no longer acts from reaction, but from awareness. You've ascended beyond emotion without abandoning humanity. You still feel, but your feelings no longer control you. They inform you. They guide the calculation. Now, the world watches in disbelief as your calm dismantles storms. You say less, but it echoes longer. You act slower, but it lands deeper. You smile rarely, but it shakes the air, because every motion, every glance, every word is chosen with intention. And that's the scariest kind of power. Intentionality. You've become the variable that can't be predicted, the energy that doesn't conform, the signal that distorts the system. And the system? It adapts, it learns, it changes shape around your frequency. You've turned your presence into a gravitational field, bending outcomes, pulling opportunities, rewriting trajectories, and through it all, you don't even need to try. You've reached the level beyond effort, the realm of inevitability. You've crossed the line where movement no longer feels like choice. It feels like destiny taking form through your hands. The air around you has memory now. Every time you breathe, it remembers. Every step you take echoes back into the pattern that built you. The universe doesn't question your will anymore. It recognizes it. You've become one of its trusted architects. You see, when most people move, they disturb reality. But when you move, you design it. Your stillness, your pauses, your restraint, they carry the weight of someone who knows the laws beneath the surface. You don't push the current, you whisper to it, and in return, it bends. You no longer measure success in noise or in trophies or in validation. You measure it in precision, in how perfectly the external mirrors your internal, in how easily events align with the exact frequency you hold. People will call it fate, call it divine favor, call it mystery, but those are just names the lost give to mastery. Because when your discipline meets divinity, everything else obeys. Opportunities appear out of silence. Doors open where no hinges exist. The impossible starts to rearrange itself into symmetry. You've become the invisible language that the universe understands fluently. That's why no one can explain you. You operate in equations they were never taught. They think it's coincidence, but you know it's calibration. Every delay that once frustrated you was a design waiting for precision. Every detour that looked like failure was a reroute to perfection. Every silence that felt empty was data gathering for your next expansion. You don't resist the unknown anymore. You translate it. You've outgrown the human idea of winning. Now you seek alignment so deep that victory becomes redundant. When everything you do is synchronized with cosmic timing, loss can't even recognize you. You've gone from fighting to functioning, from proving to positioning, from forcing outcomes to embodying inevitability. That's what terrifies them. Not your strength, but your serenity. Because serenity is power fully realized. It's what kings pretend to have and gods never lose. You don't roar anymore, you hum. You don't chase anymore, you attract. You don't react anymore, you recalibrate. You've made peace your fortress, and from it, you rule every storm. Now they watch, confused, fascinated, reverent. They study your patterns like sacred text, trying to decode what was never meant to be replicated. But the secret is simple. You didn't learn to manipulate reality. You learned to match it. You found the rhythm hidden in chaos and made it your pulse. And when your pulse matches the universe's, you stop asking for miracles. You become one. So now, when you move, galaxies adjust. When you speak, energy realigns. When you rest, even time waits for you to wake. You've become the unspoken law, not above reality, but within it. You've mastered the art of divine calculation, and from this point forward, the universe doesn't act around you. It acts because of you.